local bar because of limited motivation or available options, and determined this was the best bar available, whereas someone else is there because they searched TripAdvisor and read that it was the most delicious place in the world. In this scenario, two patrons arrive at the same place at the same time, but through drastically different methods. One person found this place due to the end result of a hunt for excellence, while the other patron was there because they had no other options. A lot of ideas and behaviors in this world are arrived at by similarly opposing methods. Some people arrive at a belief through ignorance, and some through complete knowledge.
Welcome
If
to
you think
we
that
have
both of those people
Xunicorn.
are equally qualified to speak on issues because they chose the same action, then you're in for a rude awakening. This is because through complete knowledge, one has a lot of new options, things you can learn. As for the person that arrived there through ignorance or was forced there, you can't really build anything new with that. Learning the order of operations is really important for being effective. Some math you can't do in a randomized order. In other words,
Ooh, sweet,
some
sweet. We got plenty
equations
more.
are not commutative. The same is true for martial arts. If you learn all the fake disciplines before the real ones, you're basically starting from scratch. If you learn the real disciplines and then observe the fake ones, then you can adopt what's useful and ignore what's impractical. It's similar with critical thinking. If you take a person that's a great critical thinker and you put them in an environment of stupidity and falsehood, although there may still be a few good ideas there, he's more qualified to pick out the good ideas and ignore the junk. Therefore, if you're smart and have critical thinking, you could probably benefit from reading lots of terrible material which may cripple or poison a weaker mind. It's like the ability to be an omnivore and digest the foods that are useful while remaining immune to the foods that are harmful. It's really an order of operations issue. If you read the wrong books first, you cripple yourself and read the worst wrong things out of the subsequent books. If you instead read the right books first, then it just amplifies your progress, even when reading subpar books later on. That's why the rich get richer, the smart get smarter, and the divergence grows. Mere awareness is not a skill. Similar to all other skills in the world, just because you know there is a way to do a skill better doesn't mean that you can do the skill better. Skill comes with correct knowledge put to use and practiced over time. What use is there knowing a tool exists and even owning it if you never get the inspiration that it's now the right time with that tool? Wisdom. Common wisdom is only so among those who are unwise. What most people think is common wisdom is surely not, and may be the
Oh,
definition
it's
of the
me.
policy of proof by popularity. You only get wisdom if everyone is guessing independently. If everyone can see everyone else's guesses along the way, it's worse, not better. This is because it's easier
Oh,
to
it's not till
determine
next
that
year.
something is right, even if
Yeah,
it truly is not right, when other people concur. There is more wisdom in small crowds and more ignorance in larger mobs. True wisdom is when one's intelligence has been applied to a body of knowledge over a long enough time, forcing one's own independent derivative, and is in congruence enough with the underlying situation of the world that you have a very strong mental boat, high sailing effectively downriver. The wise person is usually kind of alone and not that powerful, but just knows or can predict what is likely to happen if you do a certain action. We need to direct intellect to more motivation, belief, and discipline-based pursuits. The reason Uber was able to create a new industry that served the same purpose as the taxi industry did, and at a much lower cost, was because there was a load of unused resources sitting around. For example, taxis aimlessly idling, waiting for nearby passengers. There were people and cars that could drive, and there were roads with space, and everything was
Got
ready.
2 more days
But the
till
glue was missing.
another unicorn.
The glue that was required was an app that put people that wanted rides together with people that could give rides. So, what is the problem that we currently have in the get things done world?
Whoa, 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 whoa,
If we've
whoa,
got tons and tons of
Oh, how
unused
could we have
resources,
missed that?
which is the ability for
See, I
human
did
beings
better.
to
I marked
actually
it
do
down.
things, what's missing? It's not more knowledge. We don't need more knowledge. We have too much. It's all free. It's available 24/7. It's all the best it's ever been. And you are using none of it. Who cares? You learn more? Great. Now there's just more that you know that you're still not using. What we need is a human desire based, belief based, motivation based, discipline based glue. A binder that bridges the gap between knowing everything we could do and actually doing it. No amount of shoving facts into people's heads is getting that job done. Processing power overhead. There should be a single word to describe what you've learned, multiplied by how powerful your brain is. If we have a good enough understanding of how our consciousness works to separate intelligence from knowledge, then surely we must see that either one by itself is worthless, or that benefits can only be realized when the two are combined. Need we invent a new word for applied intelligence over time? Light power is energy multiplied by time. Mental power shall be intelligence applied to gathering and synthesizing new knowledge over time. Being correct. Being correct and knowing whether you're right or wrong about anything is important because if you think you're right and you're not, you will stop learning. You'll continue to remain wrong and you'll force yourself into a conversation depriving the person who is right the significance that they should get socially and their ability to influence others further instead will be replaced with your misguided ignorance. Thus, if you want to be right about things, you not only need to do work to be right, but you also need to do the work of knowing whether you're right or not. If you're a person that only speaks in absolutes of right and wrong, you're already delusional. A much more intelligent and realistic measurement is what is the chance that you're right in numbers. Do you think you're correct 50-50 or 70-30? How much time have you put in? Do you have access to knowledge that other people don't? How many thoughts from other people have you read? How confident should you be in your measurements? Now, as an example, the people in this world that are most right are also the people that are most likely to know when they're wrong. They continue to learn, work, understand, and test themselves empirically to see whether they actually got it right or not.
I need to move some more.
This is evident everywhere. For example, there was once a publication that said, if you get an AIDS test and you get a
Go back and do
positive
my
result,
regularly
and the
dailies
test is 95%
before we get
accurate,
over
how
into
likely are you to have AIDS? They give this test to all
the
kinds
new
of
mining
people, and it's
attempts.
actually so misunderstood that it's called the false positive paradox. It's called paradox not because paradoxes actually exist. It's called paradox because people's understanding of the world is so poor and so often at odds with the actual world that we decide to call those things that we commonly get wrong paradoxes.
Alright,
A
till next
paradox
time.
exists because humans' perception of reality is so commonly inaccurate in regards to paradoxes. There are a couple other definitions, but for the way it's being used here, it's accurate. Paradoxes exist because of a